Hello, friends. This is Keith here, and I've been talking to some of you about this active TI project that I'm working on. This is the registry that we've discussed, and of course, it's been suggested in the FFCHS conference calls a number of times, and actually been met with kind of a cold reception. And a lot of us are scratching our heads and wondering why that FFCHS doesn't seem too enthused about getting a public registry on the internet with the targeted individuals listed on this as a means of protection and awareness for each of these individuals that want to participate. So I've been working on this. I've had a website that I opened a while back, and of course I opened it under the name of Active TI, and which is an acronym. Active means Awareness Coalition for Targeted Individuals to Verify Existence. Okay, now, as I've shared this with individuals, other TIs in various forums and conference calls and what have you, I get some questions about, well, that seems like a long title, or how are the TIs going to remember that? Well, that's only an acronym. In other words, yeah, that will be published on the website or the forum or social media, whichever platform that this eventually lands on, and which right now it's just a website. It's a WordPress website, but that acronym is that doesn't necessarily have to be remembered. It's just the name Active TI. Okay, the Active TI registry, or the name of the website will actually be activeti.org. Okay, which is a very short, concise, and of course active. There again, it's a rather, I believe that it's a rather, what's the word I'm looking for, energetic word, right? Active. All of us TIs, we want to be active in this fight against the evil that's come against us, this wickedness and stalking and electronic harassment, and 100 other different methods that they have to assault humanity. But so the active, there again, that is an acronym, and the acronym doesn't necessarily have to be remembered, but it gives more substance to the active part of the website domain. And then of course at the end of that you have the TI, and of course that's we all understand what that means. That stands for targeted individuals. So you have activeti.org. That's the name of the website. I've got that domain purchased, and then this is all still in the development stage, and so if you've heard me talk about this and you're interested, I hope that you'll keep that enthusiasm and look forward to the opportunity to sign up here. And it's actually ready to sign up. There is a form on the website, and I'm going to go over some of this here briefly. But what they've done is, they isolate us, and so that's the goal of this project, is to address that specific problem of that isolation, where they get us off separated, essentially from the world at large. I mean, this is humanity we're talking about, and we're not supposed to have that survival of the fittest principle in our system of survival. But so I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and move on, and I'm going to read you the first page of this is the introduction. Okay, so we may come up with a short name to where it's easily referred to. Excuse me. And I think it's probably going to be like, the Active TI Coalition, or the Active Coalition, or the Active Registry, something like that we can just simply say it, in one or two words, and everyone will know exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about this and joining this coalition to have awareness for each other and awareness of our existence. And that word existence is very important. Okay, and as I read this, I think that you'll understand maybe what I'm talking about. The home page, and it says Active TI Registry Introduction, and number one is Introduction. Stalking and electronic assault, a secret kill using psychological and technological weapons to assault a person's body and mind, more commonly referred to as OSEH, or organized stalking and electronic harassment. Stalking and electronic assault are used to eliminate targeted individuals from society without the public at large knowing the true cause of the victim's death. A quote-unquote silent kill is achieved by a continuous stream of quote-unquote soft blows to both the individual's body and mind as well as his or her environment. With little tangible evidence, the criminal network escapes prosecution by plausible deniability. Targeted individuals are being murdered one by one, while society is either ignorant, complacent, or compliant in the disappearance and/or death of the victims of organized stalking and electronic assault. The goal of this project is to provide awareness and protection for targeted individuals whose lives are in danger. By registering the names or pseudonyms for privacy of targeted individuals, the participating members create a coalition of awareness and guardianship for one another. Similar to a roll call, this coalition of targeted individuals now has a system of recognizing, here you go, okay, let me start this paragraph again. Similar to a roll call, this coalition of targeted individuals now has a system of recognizing the existence, or lack thereof, God forbid, of every participating targeted individual. In its simplest analogy, it is much like the head count a teacher would take on a field trip to account for all her students, but in this case, we are the students and we account for one another. Okay, so that's the gist. That's the introduction right there. Then of course it goes on. It says, join the Active TI project and help save lives, maybe even yours. And then, like I said, I've got 4 other options. You can click on number 2 to learn more. And I'm not going to go into that right now because I want this to be as brief as possible to give everybody time to just watch this and get it in your mind that it does exist, that I have been working on this, and there is going to be a launch date of January 2nd. Okay, that's going to be the official launch date, and then I'll make a few more points here in just a minute. So 2 is learn more. 3, you can click on 3 and go ahead and sign up. And there again, even on the sign up page, there is more information, not a lot of information, but you can scroll on down and to the sign up form. Then number 4 is the registry, where there will be a table or with columns of whatever information you want to share, and it's up to you. Now there will be basically 2 columns for identification. The first column will be your name or a nickname, okay, and that depends on how public that you want to be. For myself, I'll have my full name on there, Keith Campshafer. Of course, I've got articles and a lot of or a significant amount of content on the internet under my name. They know who I am. They know who all of us are. Okay, so we really don't have any reason to hide. They know everything about us, right? Well, that's okay. Okay, but we targeted individuals. We know this battle that we're in, and this is primarily for us at this stage of the game. We've got to get into a network of protection to where we can recognize each other. And if we have a person that is in distress or a person that seems to have dropped off the radar, we need to have a list to where we can flag this individual, with some type of alert, where we might even say active alert. Whereas, if a child goes missing, they have the amber alert. Well, we might have this alert. We'll call it the active alert. Well, so and so is on the active alert. They're missing. We don't know where they are, and we'll pull our resources together. This unity that this will create will be a more formidable force against this criminal network. And in my opinion, and I hope that some of you other ones agree, that this will make the network think twice about attacking someone that is within this coalition, okay? Because we've got each other's back, and this is going to be based on a team. It's a team concept. Well, you will find one other person that will agree to be your co-guardian, and you and your co-guardian, you can correspond as much as you feel comfortable with, and all of these details will be on the site, okay? But what it is, if you want to send in a ping, okay, a PING, which is just a short, brief message, or just an acknowledgement, essentially saying that yes, this team is okay, team number 24 is okay, and you'll send that in at whatever time interval that you have chosen, whether it's once a week or once a month or every 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is. And that's up to the individual according to their concern or perhaps even their level of targeting, because I know that a lot of targeted individuals, they're basically living from day to day. That's where your co-guardian would be contacting you on a daily basis, hopefully, and then, as long as they hear from you every day, then they might want to send in an acknowledgement once a week. Yes, so and so is okay. He's really struggling, or she's really struggling right now, but I'm keeping in touch with her or him, and if I hear something that's more pressing or more urgent, I'll send in a message about that. But like I said, this is just skimming the surface of how this system will work, and you'll have to check out the website and read up a little bit more on it. But for those that don't feel comfortable in using their real name, then you can use a pseudonym, okay, or some kind of unique identification. You have to be, to a certain degree, there has to be at least one person, obviously, and it's better if there's really, a handful of people that recognize who you are, okay, even if it's just your single guardian. Well, if your guardian, and both you and your guardian, were to come up missing and we didn't hear from either one of you, then, and both of you had obscure names and we really couldn't identify, well, we just don't know who this is, then we're going to have really a difficult time on finding out, what's happened to you. So, but there again, that's why if you participate in some of the conference calls on TalkShoe and you've got a regular nickname that you've been using, then there'll have to be something, other than just a number to recognize who you are. And I'm asking some of you leaders that have conference calls and that perhaps maybe you're on the board of FSCHS, or you're very knowledgeable about the tactics. Maybe you're really knowledgeable about the shielding, or you're really knowledgeable about the electronic frequencies that are being used against targeted individuals. I'm asking you to stand behind this, to give me your support in this, okay? Because we understand as targeted individuals, and we know how often we've been disappointed in so many different projects and proposals that have come down the pike, hoping to make a difference for targeted individuals. And for this to work, it has to have participation, okay? And with so much reservation and skepticism within the TI community, there again, I've got this scheduled for January 2nd, which is a Saturday, second day of the year. And that's another thing too, is, this is a new year coming up here. We've got 2016. And, if we get this launched and get some movement behind this, then we've hit the ground running. And that's what we want to do in 2016. I've been saying, I said, we've got to make 2016 our round, as in a boxing round, okay? We've got to put 2016 in our column. We've lost some rounds here recently. The enemy has, they've kind of sent us back to the corner, bruised and beaten. But we've got to make 2016 our round. And we've got to come out swinging, okay? We've got to come out fighting. We've got to come out and stand up against these criminals. Now, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about violence. I'm using that, as an analogy, as a symbolism. We've got to take back some ground that we've lost. And because that's what they're doing. By putting us in isolation, they're picking us off one by one in obscurity. It says stalking and electronic assault are used to eliminate targeted individuals from society without the public at large knowing the true cause of the victim's death. Well, not only do they not know the cause of the victim's death, they don't even know that the victim is gone. The enemy is getting away with murder. The enemy is getting away with murder by keeping us in this isolation and picking us off in this obscurity. So that's what I'm asking, and that's what I'm working on. I'm not the first one that's come up with this idea, and I know that there's some other individuals out there that have already compiled and have been working on some registries, okay? But I don't see anything in the community of TIs that I'm associated with. I don't see anything like that. This should be done by FFCHS. This should be done by Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance. Okay? And it should be made public. But I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm asking for your support. Those of you TIs that understand the value of this and the potential power of this. And there again, just a brief disclaimer. There is no guarantee that this is going to save somebody's life. Right? This isn't a fortress, surrounded by armed guards that's going to protect TIs. But it's the awareness of each other's existence that is the strength of this, because it takes away that obscurity that we find ourselves in. That obscurity that they use, that isolation and ostracization that they use, okay, to where they can pick us off one by one. There's not enough friends or allies of this victim to raise a significant amount of noise, to raise a voice that can be heard. And so I'm going to go ahead and conclude this right now. And I hope that you all will get behind this and share this with other TIs on your Facebook, your emails, Google Plus, whatever social media, or whatever apps and what have you have on your cell phones, and share this with others. This is our year. Okay, 2016, we've got to take back some ground, brothers and sisters. We've got to do this. Okay, so everyone be safe and be strong and think about this and start getting behind this. Okay, and have a positive attitude and say, yeah, I think this could really make a difference. So I'll talk to everybody later. And thank you for listening.